Okay, guys, welcome to the next battle report up. This one is against Sylvan Elves. So far in the four-game series, I've won three out of my four games. Those of you who've been watching the past videos would have seen me face off against Ancient Saurians, then the Vermin Swarm, and then the Orcs and Goblins. Pretty tough games to just walk around and win, but I was able to do certain things planning ahead, and this battle was no different. I mean, here we have a battle line. We went back to the old 8th edition deployments, and this is Battle for the Pass. Um, we're playing Battle for the Pass with Breakthrough, so against Sylvan Elves, that's a tough matchup. But in setting up the terrain, I was able to place a hill right smack in the middle of the battlefield. So that really made a big difference. Or as the Sylvan Elves wouldn't. So with the combined, two hills in the middle of the field, they couldn't just start shooting me from the first turn. Also, those of you who've seen the other battles know that my army is pretty mobile. And well, here's the deployment. We've got the from my left to my right, standing on the short table edge. I have my heavy Tuskers with the battle standard. That unit has consistently been the scoring unit in my list. Pretty fast, hard hitting. Um, then we've got the light Tuskers. Both units, as you can see, are placed behind the hill because I just don't want them to get peppered from the beginning. Um, my opponent won deployment, so he chose the opposite side, as we'll see in a moment. But I just dropped everything on the table because I knew what would be my battle plan going in, and I just decided to roll with that. Well, after the Tuskers, you've got my trusty threesome of Cannoneers, who've generally been performing well. And since I'm coming into the last game, I mean, I could say, okay, I've won one of the three previous games, and I might as well just go easy on this game. But what if someone who loses against me wins the next three games? So I, I've beaten everybody so far in my group, and I think I should just go for it and take down the Sylvan Elves. So I put my bombardiers right in the middle where they can put up their strength 4 shooting, which is death to the toughness 3 elves. Right next to them, I have my unit with my general and the veterans. We've got Lucy hanging right next to them. Then we move on to the bruisers with the with the great weapons. Then a unit of bulls with the mage and my chaff bulls on the far right. They will do their job very well, as we'll see later on in the battle reports. Basically, going in here, I'm just gonna wait for my moment, since I know that my army can really much get into his zone in the last 2 or 3 turns. The Sylvan Elves choose to. I think watching my deployment, he wanted to stay as far away from those Tuskers as possible. Since he knows pretty well that the amount of impacts, hits and attacks they dish out could be death to his, would be death to his strength 3 elves. So he starts off by putting his 3 man on his left, opposite my unit of bulls and my bruisers. He puts a unit of archers into the building. His cavalry unit, which is his strongest unit in combat, dishing out the most pain with the most amount of hits, are right next to the building, with the general, who has all manner of magic stuff. Like, for example, he's mounted. He's got cavalry lance, which means he hits on strength 6. He's got a shield, so basically he saves on a 1 up, and he has a what do you call it? Uh, the Seed of Rebirth, which gives him that 4 up ward save. He pretty much hits me on 2 and hits me and wounds me on 2 with no saves allowed, basically. I've I'm sorry, he's got regeneration. Sorry, I meant to say not ward save, and so he's pretty good coming into the charge, and he's going with that very powerful unit, which most people would know that they are they are, for elves, strength 4 elves with lances, you can't just look at them lightly, as most of them have, as they have two attacks each. So it's something that I would have to deal with, because if they hit me, it's gonna hurt a lot. Then they've got more archers and more archers. I think it was 3 units of archers in total, so that's like 30. Then he has the unit of spears in there. He's got, I think, a forest captain who's got um, that. I think, well, I think it's a whirlwind blade, the one that does D3. So he's got 4 attacks that dishes out D3. So he's bound to hit you, and he's got strength 6 because of it. So I mean, he's hitting you first. He's hitting you on twos. He's wounding you on almost everything in my army on twos. Even Lucy will be wounded on fours, and it dishes out D3. So it's a unit you have to be careful of. He's also got another captain there, I think. Who's no, this is the guy. Oh yeah, this is the guy. He's got these guys who so that's his drop, and then he proceeds to put behind my lines his the guys called the forest, the ranger guys, the forest, the elven rangers, and they have the special, I think they have the special rule where they master archers, so they can decide whichever of the bows they're going to use. So them appearing in the back of my line is a sign of trouble. And they're not alone, because also on the other end of my line appears a guy who, let's call him the Lone Ranger for now. He's all on his own, skirmisher, so he'd be pretty hard to hit. And I think he's the guy who's got the magic bow that allows him to shoot a lot, like 10. Like I think it's 10 shots, and he's put behind my line to harass. So we start off pretty much surrounded, but I feel really confident going into the first turn. So in the first turn, the Ogre army, well, look, sitting where I am, I feel that there's no need to do anything yet. As I said, we have good movement, so I'm not rushed. I'm comfortable behind the hill, so I just turn around the Bombardiers and the unit of Bulls with the uh, level 2 Mage. The idea is that the Bombardiers take out the Lone Ranger, and the Mage puts a fireball or gets close enough to use his flamer, or generally we just charge that unit, and let my opponent believe that that's really something that affects my decisions. Well, magic wise, it didn't turn out as well as I hoped. I got 5 dice to 3, but even though we got so, some good dice, the spells just didn't go off. So yeah, we didn't get the Forestals, the the Rangers. In shooting, the Bombardiers were able to put 1 wound on the hero. I really, I was really hoping with 3 cannon pointed at him, they'd be able to take him out. But the fact that he was a skirmisher long range, me hitting only on sixes, even though I got 14 shots off, I was able only to put 1 wound on him. So the Sylvan Elves first turn, they basically just move up on the left to counter my heavily weighted right. I think he knows that with the Wild Riders and with his general, they could probably in the charge take out any unit and just pass right through my lines, turn around and hit me again. So it's a unit that I'm not underestimating. They're elves, but they hit me first, and as I said, they'll be hitting on twos and wounding on twos, basically taking away any possibility of armor saves. And I'm looking at a lot of attacks. So, uh, in that context, he moves up. His magic, which is pretty heavy, he's got that level 4 and level 2, which I forgot to go into great detail because I think, as I've shown in other reports, for me, magic it almost always does not affect the game. There's that one trick pony that might get through and cause some damage, but at the end of the day, my focus tends to be a bit more on the tactical. But I should mention that um, he in the first turn got 10 dice versus my 6, and roll off pretty well for Magic. His major spells fail, but he's got the Tree Song, I think it's called, but on both mages and the Tree Man. So that's a total of 3d6 strength 5 if you're in the forest hits, basically that go after you every turn. So he did some damage with that on the bulls. As you can see, I lost a couple bulls and a couple of the bruises as well. Shooting, uh, his hero, Lone Ranger, goes after the bombardiers, gets 10 shots off, uh, 3 hits, and not 3 hits, but 6 hits, and kills off two of the guys. I mean, they're unable to save his strength 4 hits. Another group of the archers go after the bulls that were moving on the far end, on the far right of my line, and kills one of them. And basically, again, his the guys in the back of his line, yeah, these I don't know what they're called, but they're archers that the forest, the forest walkers, I think, whatever. But they are the unit that infiltrated, and they were able to cause another wound. So he did wounds all around, and makes me think that if my whole army were visible, he would have done a lot more damage. So my turn two, you know, my lone bull, my lone bombardier, sorry, goes after the Lone Ranger who took out his friends, because revenge is our game. And the bulls with the mage continue marching towards those infiltrators who are in the back, who hadn't moved up. But if I give them enough of a breather, they'd be doing a lot of damage. Um, Magic. I put the I think burning rampants on the bruises, giving them 1 up, one more toughness, and 5 up ward save. Um, that's about it. That's the only thing that goes through. I tried to use the attribute to kill the hero, and no, no, no way. So I'm trying to get that one wound off. So I have to do it the traditional way. I go after him with the last bombardier and finally get that wound on him. And that's about it. There's no fighting, nothing else to shoot. So that ends the turn. So we move on to Sylvan Elves, turn two, and they continue moving up now a bit cautiously because he's being coached by his brother who is on another table nearby, who warns him, "Hey, don't get close to those guys. They're pretty big and move fast." So he sort of edges forward with his cavalry, in the hopes of bringing them into charge range, but not too close. Other than that, he relies on being where he is there to continue his assault on me from a distance, and he does. The Again, he goes with grouping up those singing those 3 songs from the 3 units, and manages to pull off 4 wounds, killing off another ogre. Um, you know the tree. Sorry, a couple of my bruisers, and his tree guy gets a buff, one more toughness. So as if toughness 7 wasn't enough, and the shooting this time didn't do much. He focused on most of the shooting failed to do anything much, but he got another of the bulls on the far right, with some combined shooting from the skirmishers, from archers, sorry, in the house, and the other group that was really far away. Again, another not too eventful turn. And well, here we go. I mean, it is the job of the ogres by turn three to get stuck in. I mean, if you're an ogre and you're not stuck in by turn three, you're not playing ogres. So the charges go all around. We have to make the charge after the Cronus. So we go after with everything we've got. We've got the general and his guard, the bruisers, and Lucy all make a go for the general and the wild riders. I think they were called Cornus or something like that before. That's why I keep crossing the names. Um, and the level 2 mage and the bulls that accompany him go after those skirmishers because we got to get them out of the way. They're just very annoying, and they could cause a lot of damage because they get to choose their arrows, and I could see them very easily putting poisoned wounds onto Lucy. So the rest of the line, however, just sits still and shuffle. As you can see, just the guard and the bruises make it into contact with the Cronus. And I think that's with the Wild Rider, sorry, and I think that should be enough. Magic, nothing much happens. I think I try you know, I I try a buff, but nothing works. I think the Burning Rampant is blocked. And so shooting wise, I didn't do anything, so I just went straight into combat. And this is why I really like turn 3 onwards. Because by then either my magic or my shooting don't really make much sense, and I get to do what ogres really get to do, which is combat. Um, and well, I love Warhammer. I love in any incarnation, and so my bull in the assault, my standard bearer gets put down by the stand and shoot. Not surprisingly, these guys stand and shoot on 3 ups, I think. And but the rest of it, nothing happens. And as we get in, both of us, I mean, he pulls down the champion before he can hit, but because my mage is able to get in there, and I think I win the combat by 1. I think because of the charge, and the unit just, I mean, as a portent of what happens in this battle. I mean, he's got leadership 9, so I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna hold. The guy rolls 11. He rolls 11, and they just run right off the board. I mean, I felt this pain. It was just not something you would expect. You'd probably expect that they'd hold against the mage and keep him tied up, but unfortunately they didn't. Coming to the main event, which is the fight that we were all looking forward to. I mean, I'm so happy I got this charge off. I mean, this is how it should go. Um, and just on impact hits, we take out the back rank. We take down 5 of the riders, and leaving him only with the front rank and the champion. The champion swings back. Look, all told, my bruises received the worst of it, and I think I lose about 3 or 4 of them at this point. But the payback, in total, we score. I think we score. It ended up being something like 11 versus 11 wounds each, actually. And because I lost the mercenary, but uh, the general is left alone. He's got leadership 10, and he's down by 5, so he needs a 5 to stand, and the guy rolls a 4. I mean, if you're looking carefully at this picture and some of the others around it, you'd see that right behind, I mean, literally standing right behind, are his 2 mages. The overrun would have just decimated them and would have ended the game right there. I mean, a roll of 4 when would it be unreasonable of me to expect him to roll a 6 maybe? So I'll quit whining about that. But I mean, I was really hoping for at that stage that that would have been the payoff, effectively ending the game in the 3rd turn. But best laid plans as we go on to turn 3. And as I said, we're in turn 3 Sylvan Elves, and I have to say, he begins to see his tactical mistake of pushing his 3-man so quickly forward. Now his 3-man is out of line of sight of the combat, and would have been able, if it were just a little bit behind or even next to the Cronus Riders, been able to have come to their assistance in a devastating way. But unfortunately, he was chaffed and had to fight the bull, so he went right in, a bit disgusted, knowing that he could crush that bull. So with that, lackluster charge complete, he decided to start moving up his units suddenly. I mean, he realized that if he stayed back, he would suffer because of the secondary objectives. Since I had so many units that could just cross over into his deployment area, uh, his magicians moved back to the relative safety of being next to the house. Um, because I mentioned they were next to the house before, but that was a mistake. I mean, they were really hiding in the forest, and to be quite honest, for most of the game, I didn't know where they were. But when they fell back to the side of the building, they even at some angles where I was playing from, I didn't remember they were there. As for magic, nothing much happened. Uh, he did, however, buff up his general by giving him one more strength, one more toughness. Um, he he aimed at my Mournfang cavalry that had gone up to the hill and took one of them down, but they were within range of the general, who was still in his fight, and were able to very easily pass their test. And of course, in the combat, the tree man kicks the bull in the nuts and he dies. I mean, that's not what you call a matchup. That's like steamrolling. Um, he then positioned himself to start looking at the combat. I think rather belatedly, to be able to have any real effect. And of course, we pull down the the general, despite all the buffs and everything he had. I mean, there was basically no chance for him. The general had Yeti's fur, so hit before he did, and just like sort of crushed him. And we move on from there. So moving into our fourth turn, uh, things. I mean, with the loss of his major unit, I know that I have this game. His infantry is just too far away. They're on the other end of the line. Nobody's paying much attention to them. There's no way I'm charging my cavalry into contact with spears, on elves, with a lord with a blend of blade. I mean, that's just not happening. And uh, I make the charge. I try a charge from my general against his archers, and I tried again for my standard bearer to reach the archers in the house. That failed. But we did get into contact with the general, and we pulled the Montfang cavalry off the hill to charge that same archer unit in the flank. Um, yeah, this is where things get. I mean, it's at even though I felt a bit uh, abusive doing it, but I needed to get forward momentum to get into his zone. um, I ignored magic, and my bombardier in the shooting phase was able to put one wound on the tree man. Yeah. um, the combined charge just I mean blew away the archers and had an unexpected effect. It just panicked every single unit within six, which meant his two wizards and his remaining archer unit just ran. It's incredible that they have leadership 9, I believe, almost everyone. But he consistently rolled 11. Every single roll came up 10 or 11. I mean, and all three units just ran completely off the board and basically ended it. Uh, I mean, at that point, uh, you have to look at the fact that he rolled 4 11s for checks so far, counting the skirmishes. So, pretty successful phase. Continued to overrun with my general taking his unit's banner into the enemy's deployment zone. Turn four for him was a bit, harsh in the sense that he, in terms of movement, had no charges. The tree man was still, I forgot to mention, was chaffed by the lone bombardier, and he just stood there looking at them. I didn't take much note at this point. I think he took off. Yeah, he took off some wounds on my on my unit of bruisers. Yeah, that's it. And but was not able to do anything else. Um, his his big gambit was to try to get into the deployment zone, but they weren't able to do it. And and this is where basically the game ends. Except to mention that my Mornfang, two things happened, and I forgot to mention that in his shooting phase, he was able to kill off some of my veterans, including the standard bearer, leaving just the general and the captain. Um, the captain of the unit, effectively taking away my scoring. So it's great and it was just great playing against a player who, even though he took like a serious blow to his army, fought to the end. I mean, I love it when there's a game when there's no giving up. You just go after it, and he was able. I mean, if I didn't have, or if I'd been stupid enough to charge my Mornfangs with the banner into something and had them held up or killed, I would not have been able to do what I did in the last turn, which is charge his archers and basically wipe them out and overrun my unit into his deployment zone. So thereby getting the secondary objective and securing myself that 500 points more. At the end, it was a bit immaterial. It led to, I think, either a massacre or a solid victory. Uh, but no, I think looking at it, these guys are pretty good. The Sylvan Elves are pretty good at shooting. They have powerful magic, and but that you get to their lines with ogres, and that's the end of it. That's why, looking at his list, we had really open lists posted, as you can see, uh, on the internet, and we shared those lists. And just looking at his list, I knew that if I could take out the wild riders and his general, I didn't expect the panic. I expected to have to work for it. I think if he hadn't lost that unit to panic, he probably would have brought down my standards. You have to think that starting off, I had more standards than he did, and I made use of that. I think, also the threat of Lucy, not rushing frenzied off into combat, but being held back by checks. Managing her was pretty easy with the banner bearer and the general right next to her, so that she didn't go off all frenzied attacking, so that I could make that move. He didn't obviously want to give me the rear of his unit with Lucy standing behind. That would have ended badly. So I think at the end of the day, the fact that he failed so many uh, leadership tests and just ran off the board, four of his units just ran off the board, and his major unit being killed sort of put paid to his plan. So great battle. I love that we went right down, even though it was only 4 turns. We went right down fighting with it. And well, this actually wraps up my last video. Look out for a series of videos that I'll be doing soon, called the Mighty Battle series, which I'll be challenging the people in my community to 4,000 point battles. Also look for the second round of this league. I will be uh, continuing with the ogres, but in the Mighty Battle series, I will begin with my Empire of Sunstel army. So you'll see a different vibe for the different tactics, because Empire cannot just walk up and smash face. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe to the channel, and look out for more videos in the future. Your comments are most welcome. Whether they're positive or negative, I like all kinds of comments, as they help me to improve these battle reports. Thank you so much.